I so submit. Thank you, President. Mr. Tony Tse. Thank you, President. In the past, I criticized the government for not responding enough to the population problem in Hong Kong. The policy address this year, there is an improvement, including the setup of the working group on promoting silver economy and the 5 main work areas, especially for silver productivity. As I mentioned, elderly people in Hong Kong do not want to rely on the government. Some of them can still work in the community. They want to serve the community by different ways. The government needs to provide convenience instead of just benefits or welfare benefits. Retiring in the GBA, I supported. Elderly people used to worry about medical issues in the mainland. However, there have been improvements in this regard. Some Grade 3A hospitals have adopted the management model of Hong Kong hospitals, so I believe there won't be as many problems. In relation to the TTPS Top Talent Pass schemes, quite many school-age population students have come to Hong Kong. They want to get into eminent schools in Hong Kong. We cannot help schools that have a lower admission rate. This causes education resource mismatch. And this will also affect the local situation in which local students need to get admitted to schools. This will intensify conflicts. So we need to encourage schools to use underutilized vacant school premises in order to increase the number of school places. Instead of closing schools, reducing classes, that will be much more beneficial. I also urge the government to enhance ethics education and Chinese traditional values education. We don't need a particular subject, but we can incorporate these elements into the life of students and in different subjects. For example, Chinese festivals and the historical background behind these festivals, as well as the main characters. We shouldn't just emphasize Western festivals. I hope the Education Bureau and the education sector will understand changes, seek changes, and embrace changes. We need to enhance our understanding of the Chinese culture. I'd also like to talk about environmental protection. MSW charging has been halted, but we cannot fall by the wayside in this regard. We need to enhance public education. We need to reduce waste as well as emission. We need to guard against the impact of extreme weather. All of us do have responsibility. We need food waste collection system. We also need to turn waste into energy. From different perspectives, say bidding farewell to SDUs, we have no more room to expand our existing landfills. President, I so submit. I support the motion of thanks. Mr. Chow Siu Chung, thank you, President. I'm glad to see that the policy address has rolled out policies on welfare. I'm also glad to see that many of our proposals have been adopted. I'm going to speak on a couple of areas. First of all, I thank the government for improving the after-school care respite services. There were 59 schools across 7 districts. Right now, there are over 110 schools all over 18 districts in Hong Kong. The policy address also encourages more schools to take part in school-based after-school care service scheme. I hope the scheme will be more flexible. The main targets are students in the SDUs, living in the SDUs, and from single-parent family. But I understand many other students also want to join the scheme. I hope the eligibility criteria can be relaxed. so that this scheme will be able to help parents to unleash their employment potential. On supporting carers and elderly persons, the voucher number has been increased to 6,000 so that more elderly people can receive care services. However, when it comes to residential care homes, with the labor importation scheme to import carers, the quota was 7,000, and in the coming 3 years, they will be increased to a total of 15,000, up by 8,000 in the coming 3 years. And that will affect the employment opportunities for locals. The work conditions and the remuneration are better in private residential care homes. These shops should be reserved for locals. We shouldn't import foreign labor. I hope there would be restrictions in this regard. We also need to help local health care workers to upskill and to transform so that they can become more senior in their field. That way, they can increase their income. The academic qualifications of the relevant scheme need to be adjusted accordingly. We need to incorporate more practical contents. There should also be more incentives to support and encourage existing healthcare workers to upskill, to study in order to get promoted. On supporting laborers, there are many surprises. But I can see there are reforms as well. We will see next year the full portability for MPF. But we shouldn't stop right here. There are also problems that need to be solved. For example, for low-income earners, we need to help them with MPF arrangements. It is an important part of retirement money. There is only MPF and employer contribution. Their income is lower, so the contribution is also lower. There is next to no guarantee for them. I mean next to no protection for them. This is indeed a good policy. Early this year, the government said that on the eMPF platform, the government will make the employee contributions for these group of people. I hope the administration will implement this policy as soon as possible. I hope the government will tread cautiously when they import laborers from specific trades. The government needs to consult stakeholders and the chambers of commerce. Indeed, for many skilled trades, they lack laborers. They also lack fresh blood. The reason is that the remuneration is not as good. If the situation doesn't improve, even if we have imported laborers into Hong Kong, after they have become Hong Kong permanent residents, they will still choose to leave Hong Kong or change jobs. Then we cannot solve the problem of the succession gap. So we do need to think how we can improve the working environment or conditions. Otherwise, young people won't be willing to join in trade when the work conditions aren't good and when there are foreign laborers. Then, VPET and local training resources will go to waste. So this year we have the main theme of making reform and embracing changes to achieve prosperity and building our future together. There is an increase in the unemployment rate. The government needs to consider the actual situation and considers tightening the labor importation policies. In the long run, we need a roadmap for importing workers. I look forward to more policies to benefit workers in Hong Kong. Right now, there are only 5 days for paternal leave. In fact, for paternity leave, we are lagging behind. For flexi hours, for example, these are basic labor rights in overseas countries, and we are still far from this target. Long working hours in Hong Kong, this is a serious problem. There were workers who died because of hectic work life, but then they are not protected by labor rights. There is also a lack of clear standard to determine whether the deaths are as a result of hectic work, hence the sudden death of workers. President, once again, I thank the Chief Executive for the policy address. I support the motion of thanks. Ms. Judy Chan. Thank you, President. On promoting social harmony, members of the public's life planning is very important. So I'm glad to see that in the policy address this year, there is support for women, young people, and so on. Women play a key role in society. Last evening, I attended an event of the Women's Fund. There was a discussion session. I learned about an interesting study. All over the world, it's the same for kindergartens, primary and secondary schools. There are many principals and teachers that are women. However, at university, the ratio is 1:9. There is only one female vice-chancellor in the 8 universities in Hong Kong. Women need to balance between work and family. There are many FFEPs, but then, there's a lack of FFEPs, and these women choose to give up on their promising career. Instead, they decide to take care of their family. And the policy address, we can see different schemes mentioned. Say there is the She Rise program, which is worth our commendation. As I mentioned, many young women need to look for a role model as a goal that they work towards. The goal is to give them a clearer goal so that they will become successful women. This is very important in our society. So I hope that we can bring in professional women in society who can act as role model, so that women in Hong Kong can develop their potential. We can also set an overall target for the development of women. It's not just about respect for the interests and rights for women. It is also key to the development of our society. On a different note, I'm also glad to see that the policy address mentions healthcare. There were 8 paragraphs devoted to deepening the reform of the healthcare system, including primary healthcare, healthcare in the private sector, how we can have more talents, a 3rd medical school in Hong Kong, Chinese medicine development, as well as mental health. The policy address devotes a lot of coverage to these areas. It's important to fulfill public aspirations for healthcare services in Hong Kong. The Secretary can adopt a result-oriented approach as well. In the 2023 policy address, much coverage was devoted to boosting the birth rate. The government also worked on it. For example, newborn baby bonuses and assisted reproductive technologies quota was increased. But we need to be more proactive. We need to have a result-oriented approach. We need to have more babies in Hong Kong. For example, we need to think about the period of frozen eggs, say the period of 10 years is too short. That is the view of the community, and I hope that the chief executive and his team can study the period of frozen eggs alongside making reforms. Chengdu is very aggressive. In Chengdu, they allow single women aged below 30 to try IVF. So if we need to carry out reform, if we need to change, this will help members of the public in Hong Kong to give birth to babies and to have families. I support the motion of thanks. I support the policy address. Thank you.
Ms. Starry LEE. President, first of all, I would like to thank the Chief Executive for taking on board many of our views and suggestions. As a member of the Kowloon Central, I would also like to thank the various departments for taking into account issues of concerns to residents. For example, there's new development on the development of the Kowloon Central Harbour Front. And then the Secretary for Development will be moving a bill to the moving amendments to the Protection of the Harbour Ordinance, and then we could enter a new phase, and then we will be able to build a continuous harbour front for Hong Kong. And this will be a major tourist attraction as well as a place for leisure for the public. The Secretary for Transport and Logistics will speed up the development of a green and smart mass transit system. Paragraph 144 says that the program will be compressed, and in August this year, for Kowloon East and Kai Tak, and they will be inviting expressions of interest. So I hope the whole project will be speeded up further. In particular for the Kowloon East line route, I hope you will bear in mind your undertaking to Chi Wan San residents. They have waited a long time for rail services. They are not covered this time, but they've been asking for the extension of the rail services for persistently. And I must thank Ms. Alice Mack too for taking up the various suggestions of different political parties. For example, joint management of 3 new buildings, and then there will be additional resources for the care teams. And I must thank Ms. Alice Mack in particular, because you have taken up our suggestion on the youth post, which is a major project. Because in Kai Tak, it is prime location, and there's going to be a youth post there that shows the government really does care much about the young people. Now, this youth post will be where there will be short-term accommodation, sports, cultural, and other facilities there. So perhaps the youth post together with the cruise terminal and the new Kai Tak Sports Park will turn Kai Tak into a new landmark, a new talking point. And then visitors will choose to visit this area then. And hopefully residents from across the territory will also come and visit. I would like to thank the Secretary for Housing as well. Now, I've been serving in a district with many subdivided units for decades. At the beginning, there weren't that many SDUs. Now they are everywhere in my constituency. And so together with Mr. Vincent Zhang and other stakeholders, we've been fighting for the phasing out of undesirable SDUs. And actually, it requires much commitment and courage to take up such a project. I'm actually pleasant surprised that the proposals of the government far exceed what we've asked for. So I hope everyone will continue to pay attention to the SU issue, and then we could progressively phase out the undesirable SDUs. Third, On another different point, the government tries to address the issue of young people having difficulties buying their homes. Now, HOS is like a lucky draw. Now the government is giving an extra ballot number to young people. Some complain it's not much useful, but still, it's is to show that the government is trying to help young people. They're giving them an extra opportunity. Now, and enhancing the housing ladder, and eventually the ratio will be changed to 60-40. I believe it's the right time to do that. On healthcare, now the secretary is here. The Secretary for Health has pushed for various reforms. They're probably most aggressive among all the governments. And then we will have a third medical school that will help us to develop into innovation healthcare hub. And then healthcare vouchers, the scope is to be expanded. In particular, must commend you for including dental services, because many have complained it's difficult for them to access dental services, and in particular with tooth extraction. So now you're expanding the scope of the healthcare vouchers. It helps in some way to lessen the burden on the public, but we still need to do more. Now, the Secretary for Environment and Ecology is here. I'm glad to see that there are notable improvements to the food waste devices. And I hope the government will, the Bureau, the government's taken on board many of our views, but still there's room for improvement in various areas. For example, healthcare. In Kowloon East, Wang Tai Sin, there's a serious shortage of healthcare services. Now, Miss Rebecca Chen, Dr. David Lam, Mr. Vincent Zhang, and us have been working together on a study. And the study findings show that near Wang Tai Sin, near the Lok Fu playground, there will be another general hospital there, because there are stronger healthcare needs due to an aging population in the district. And then we believe that after the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, probably it won't be kept as a general hospital. So if there's not a new hospital, then when the when the Queen Elizabeth Hospital will not retain its general hospital function, then the whole cluster will be affected. So that's why we hope that after the completion of the Kai Tak Hospital, the Queen Elizabeth Hospital will be kept as a general hospital. So in the second 10-year hospital building program, I hope you will include this proposed hospital in Kowloon, because Kowloon has some aging population, so there's need to have additional healthcare services there. Now, every time I go and visit the district, especially older districts, the elderly residents always express concern about health care. Now, residents, in particular elderly residents, are concerned about the long waiting time for specialist hospital service. Now, the policy addresses proposed ways to shorten the queue. Perhaps we could refer to the breakthrough in the use of healthcare voucher, say for dental services. So we could consider that approach, and then we could also allow healthcare vouchers to be used on specialist service. That will help to lessen the burden on the public healthcare system. Now, you mentioned healthcare reform in terms of charging for healthcare services. Now, many have expressed concerns after you said that, but then you have to take into account the needs of the grassroots sector and the middle class. They all have needs for healthcare services. So when you carry out reforms, it must be done in a progressive manner. Otherwise, people will be really worried about the fee structure in future. And maybe they won't be able to afford healthcare services when they fall ill. So, Secretary, you need to strike a balance carefully between public concerns and the pressure on the healthcare system. Finally, I would like to thank Mr. Chris Sun for his work in building a high-caliber talent hub. Well, I want to say a lot, but I'm running out of time, so perhaps I will discuss that in detail with Mr. Sun in future. I hope we will keep our focus on high-caliber talent, international high-caliber talent. Now, we need to support the development of the country, and if we work hard here in Hong Kong, we'll be able to help the country to become a hub for international high-caliber talent. So I speak in support of the policy address. Dr. David Lam. Thank you, President. Now, the policy address covers gives a comprehensive consideration to healthcare policy. There will be primary healthcare and supporting high-end healthcare services. So there will be services on all fronts for the public. The free public healthcare sector will be reformed next year. The health department of health will continue to look after prevention and other aspects. The hospital authority will be responsible for specialists and hospital services. And then there's another fourth area that is setting up offers for procuring services from private sector. And the fifth sector area is probably about development of Chinese medicine. And then there will be 18 Chinese medicine training and research institute. So we can see that there will be deep reforms in all areas of health care matters. And there will be collaboration of integrated Western Chinese medicine collaboration, and there will be a third medical school. So the policy address gives details on all these areas. Now, the coordinating role of district health centers is becoming increasingly well defined. It's a coordinating organization. That means it doesn't provide those services, but rather it works with the private sector through strategic procurement. The centers can provide a comprehensive service. Now, the e-health record system will help. It will be a platform to link up the public and private practitioners. It's like a pilot on the plane. It provides information for to doctors. It is a record of individual patients. So for the HR to be used properly, we need to engage private doctors. That's why I've been in close discussion with the Bureau. Now, when private doctors, they encounter various problems using the system, so I asked the Bureau to consider solutions. Now, the medical records can now be uploaded to HR at the back end with the consent of patients. It's the result of years of discussion with the Bureau. I hope the government will continue to promote the use of EHR and keep in discussion with the private sector. Now, that's the chronic disease co-care pilot scheme. So this is to promote further collaboration between family doctors and DHCs. Now, family doctors, of course, serve individuals. They are like the general managers. They provide health planning for patients. And they also review the various healthcare services received by patients after the last consultation. They help to screen for diseases. They deal with chronic diseases and episodic diseases, and family doctors keep long ties with individuals, so they should not be people should not switch to different family doctors casually. And then community pharmacists could explain the use of drugs and so on with patients. So this co-care pilot scheme could include other healthcare professionals based on the needs of patients, for example, dietitians. The primary healthcare guide covers Chinese medicine, Western medicine, and dental service. The guide will be further expanded to cover pharmacists, nurses, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, and dental care professionals. The professionals on the list will also have access to EHR. So then there could be there will be a team actually serving individual patients. Now we have chiropractors too. They make much contribution. There aren't many chiropractors in Hong Kong. They work quietly to contribute to Hong Kong. So there must be clear positioning of chiropractors for the development. The community pharmacy list will be published next year. Well, first, the government could consider standardizing the prices of medications. There are common medications such as antibiotics, cough medicine. They always run out of stock, so it's important that we make sure there is a constant supply, stable supply, and perhaps at the community drug formulary, new drugs could also be provided, so patients don't have to keep going back to specialist clinics. Now, hopefully, we are able to remove the obstacles so that chronic patients could switch from the hospital system to private doctors. Now, hospitals always give too much medication to patients. Sometimes they give them a full year's supply of medicine. It could be a waste. So we need to address that issue as well. So that's why it's good that we will have community drug formulary. It won't just serve the public. It will also serve residential care homes for the elderly. So I believe there will be more precise dispensing of drugs. Chinese medicine is a Chinese treasure. We want further development of Chinese medicine, and I hope the Chinese medicine office will bring together the tertiary institutions, research sector, and practitioners, so that there could be more research and studies on the use of Chinese medicine and the efficacy and so on. So we could also have mutual referral between Chinese and Western medicine practitioners. Now, oral health is still the responsibility of the government. The Department of Health has hired half of the dentist graduates. Now, we believe there will be more dentists joining the public sector. So we need, at the same time, we need to promote private-public collaboration. And then eventually it will be easier for the public to access dental service. Now, mental health is also important. I see that there will be the medical education social collaboration model, and so I hope it will be implemented soon. Now, and as for registration of different professionals, I think it's important that we have a single register for each health profession. This is the case with the lawyers, and because with a single register we can ensure the standards and ethics of the practitioners. I hope the government will eventually move to statutory registration of healthcare allied health professionals. Now, more people are moving to the Greater Bay Area. We have the Guangdong Residential Care Service Scheme, and then now healthcare vouchers could be used by the elderly on medical services in GBAs. I support that. Now, some are concerned that drugs may be too expensive and not affordable to the public. Now, there are more drugs included in the drug formulary of the hospital authority, and for the eligible, they can obtain subsidy from, say, the Samaritan Fund. But, drugs are so expensive, even the middle class may not be able to afford them. So if we cannot take part in the national scheme of central procurement of drugs, then when patients, there should be other ways to help patients living on the mainland.
Patients need special food if they suffer from rare diseases, and this increases the expenses for patients. Some of the rare disease patients, they cannot take a certain type of protein, otherwise they will suffer from health risks. Also, this type of rare drugs have to be procured from overseas. So patients may have to spend over $100,000 every year on these drugs. I hope the government can explore providing subsidy for patients to procure special food. On manpower, there will be a shortage until 2024, and over 1,000 doctors are short. We have to adapt to the manpower needs because of the changes in our healthcare system. We have to train up our own doctors, and we can import doctors as an additional help. I welcome the setting up of the third medicine school in Hong Kong. In 2002, every 1,000 person, there was 1.65 doctors. There were too many doctors back then, and the two medicine schools reduced the number of students. We have to be prepared for the manpower needs. By the time we have the third medicine school, I hope the school can recruit more overseas students and that there can be more exchange opportunities for students. International students can come to Hong Kong to study medicine, and this will show our competency and that we can help build Hong Kong into an international education hub. We are one of the places in the world with the longest life expectancy. We have to have the ability to develop new drugs. We have two medicine schools and we have universities that conduct research in biotechnology and bioengineering. These will inject impotence into the development. We need to attract global talents as well as top-notch companies engaging in drug research and development. The Hetao, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong Innovation and Technology Cooperation Hub will be an important platform. It will help speed up medical research and development. Lastly, I'd like to talk about financing. This is about evenly distributing public funds so that people in need can get the medical services they need. I hope that I can communicate with the government more in this regard. Overall speaking, 2024 is a year for our healthcare system to be reformed. Our sector expects that we can continue to communicate with the government to open a new chapter for Hong Kong. I so submit. Thank you. Mr. Michael Lee. Thank you, President. To make my speech complete, I will speak on all the topics in this session. This year's policy address is in line with the four hopes put forward by President Xi in his important speech. We have to enhance Hong Kong's status as an international finance, maritime, and trading center. We have to build an international hub for high-calibre talent. The government has taken on board a lot of the suggestions the Liberal Party made. There are going to be midterm as well as long-term reforms, and this is very forward-looking. And this allows us to better integrate into the overall development of our country. Mr. Xia Baolong recently held a symposium with the business sector in Hong Kong. Mr. Xia said the business sector should help ensure the prosperity of Hong Kong and that they should contribute to the development of the city. The business sector has been making use of its own advantages, and it has been working hard to help revive the economy. It's been participating actively in the development of our country. I agreed with what Mr. Xia said. Indeed, the business sector in Hong Kong has been showing its love for our country and Hong Kong. During COVID, the business sector donated money and put in a lot of effort. Also, post-COVID, the business sector has been the major driving force of our economy. They've been making lots of contribution. They have also been the super connectors between the mainland as well as the international world. It's been enhancing the connectivity between Hong Kong and the world to bring Hong Kong brand to the global arena. Hong Kong is an international financial, shipping and trading center, and we have to keep up with our effort to build the land, sea and airports. The ports in Hong Kong should not be working alone. They have to collaborate with the ports in the GBA cities, including the airports in the GBA, to enhance our shipping and logistics businesses. The airports in the Greater Bay Area, including the one in Hong Kong, should have our own division of work. For example, we can develop high-value-added services, including cold chain technologies, as well as insurance financing. On the other hand, our SMEs are the pillars of Hong Kong. They account for over 98% of the enterprises in Hong Kong, hiring more than 45% of the employees in the private sector. Many SMEs after the COVID have been facing a very difficult time. Therefore, we welcome the support measures for SMEs. For example, the government is resuming the principal moratorium arrangement. Also, it is injecting $1 billion into the Bud Fund. These are all to help the SMEs ride over the challenges. After the third plenum, Mr. Xia said that Hong Kong has to identify, adapt to, and embrace changes. Mr. Xia told the business sector in the symposium that the world we're facing now is different from the world we were facing in the past. We cannot rely on one trick to deal with all the problems. We have to make reforms proactively so that we can open up a new chapter. So how should Hong Kong, through reforms, deal with all the deep-seated and long-standing issues? There are many livelihood issues, including housing problems, aging population problems, etc. in Hong Kong. I want to talk about my suggestions on dealing with the challenges faced by the middle-aged as well as the tourism sector. I've been urging the government to pay more attention to the middle class as well as the sandwich class. In the past, the middle class was able to drive the economy. They had spending power. However, today, many people from the middle class told us that they are facing lots of stresses. They are not able to purchase their own homes. We're seeing the middle class moving to the grassroots. The middle class are facing a lot of burden because they have to take care of the elderly family members. A lot of them, they are hesitant about giving birth to children. And also SMEs are facing pressure. Many people from the middle class, after they retire, they have to apply for elderly living allowance, and they haven't been able to save up money. Since 2000, there have been an increase of 30% of the inflation rate. So they don't even have money to eat. So I'm glad that the government is setting up the working group on promoting silver economy to address the needs of the elderly. The government should pay attention to the needs of the poor people from the middle class so that they can retire peacefully in Hong Kong.
People may misunderstand the word the middle class. They save on their own to buy their own home, and they take care of their family with their income when they retire. They still need to repair and maintain their home, and they still need to spend a large amount of money on it. They cannot cover these expenses. People may think that they are more well off, but they are still facing a lot of problems, say rising rents, high prices in society, and so on. They pay high tax, but then they don't enjoy as many fringe benefits. Their benefits in society aren't as good as those in the grassroots. %40 of their income are spent on day-to-day living expenses, so they cannot save as much. So we are seeing the descriptions of the sandwich middle class or the poor middle class. They think they are left out by society. Because of these factors, many middle-class families aren't willing to have babies. So in order to incentivize the middle class to have babies, we need to have progressive child allowance so that the expenses on children and foreign domestic helpers can be tax deductible. There should also be extra allowances, and I hope the government will consider my proposal on housing issues. Not just the middle class, but most members of the public in Hong Kong also face this problem. The policy address in 2022 also mentioned housing issues. We need to bid farewell to SDUs so that members of the public will have hopes. They can move into larger flats. This is worth our commendation. The housing department needs to step up efforts in clamping down on SDUs. We have the reward scheme of using resources in a better way. We want to devote social resources to those that are most in need. Many people in Hong Kong are going north to spend. This is not surprising, and we do not have to be over pessimistic. But the administration does have to think how we can attract more tourists to come to Hong Kong. Especially, we need to keep the middle class in Hong Kong so that they will spend in Hong Kong. We need to hold mega events. We also need to organize events and stage concerts, say concerts economy, in order to respond to the latest social changes. When it comes to events, mega events economy, we shouldn't see every single event as mega events. In Hong Kong, we have held quite a lot of successful mega events, including Hong Kong Wine and Dine, Basel Art Hong Kong, or Hong Kong Sevens, which drew 100,000 spectators to the Hong Kong Stadium, leading to an uptick of 40% to 50% in the business receipts of the restaurants and bars nearby. This can drive the development of tourism, F&B, and so on. So we can see the benefits brought to Hong Kong. So that we can show our vital facade to tourists. In view of this, I propose that the government should set up convention fund, say culture, arts, sports, international conventions, or concerts economy, as I mentioned just now. The government can provide rent exemption, visa exemption to invite international celebrities or singers to come to Hong Kong to stage concerts, not just Hong Kong Coliseum, Asia Expo, Kai Tak Sports Park, Central Promenade, or even West Kowloon Cultural District. We can use outdoor areas to drive the development of other industries. We also need to step up promotion so that the public will be more informed of the events in the future, so that we can prepare earlier. As we all know, we are a melting pot of Chinese and Western cultures. We have a wealth of tourism resources. We also boast world-class scenery. We have the conditions to develop high-quality tourist activities. As Director Mr. Xia said, we need to upgrade the tourism. We need to make better use of outlying island and shoreline in Hong Kong. We need to develop cultural tourism, cruise tourism, and so on. We also need to make good use of the Bun Festival in Changchou, island hopping, drones to tour around islands. These are good methods as well. We've been through different difficulties in the past, including different crises, say financial tsunami, SARS, or COVID-19. On the back of the Lion Rock spirit among the people of Hong Kong, also on the back of the staunch support of the Central People's Government, we weather these storms. In fact, we have strong ties with our country. Members of the public can also see the support given by the Central People's Government. It's tangible, so we have managed to move from stability to prosperity. With capable officials, I believe the official can provide new ideas for Hong Kong so that we can leverage on our own advantages and strengths to achieve synergy with mainland China so that the local economy can be developed faster or can recover at a faster rate. I also look forward to more policies benefiting Hong Kong to be implemented by the Central People's Government. We also need to seek changes. We need to contribute to society so that we can tell the good stories of Hong Kong and those of China. I support the motion of thanks. Thank you, President. Mr. Eng Kong. In this session, I'd like to talk about carers. I want to share with you what they think. Happiness is our lofty goal. We need to face the aging population in Hong Kong. There is mounting pressure among carers. Targeting this demographic change, the government should draw up a long-term and detailed roadmap, making use of big data and legislation to include the data of carers in Hong Kong. Carers shoulder great social responsibilities. They provide support services or day-to-day services, emotional support to those in need in society. They are unpaid. They spend a lot of time and effort caring for those in need, but then their needs are oftentimes neglected. I thank the government for the relevant policies so that they can feel hope. Cash allowances are the mainstream policies. But then we also need to think for those that are more well-off. Cash allowances don't go a long way towards helping them. For those that are more frail, government financial allowances aren't as helpful. Existing policies require financial input. Society relies on government allowances, and this is not sustainable. In long term, we need to leverage on community sources to provide support services to carers. Well, I think the government should enhance collaboration among the government, the public, and the commercial sector in order to support carers. That will enhance the resilience of carers. We have both challenges as well as opportunities. Last year, there was a report about having a policy with data. We need to categorize carers in Hong Kong, and we also need to provide comprehensive support services. In different stages, carers have different needs. In the early stage, they need physical needs, whereas afterwards they need to enhance their skills. Afterwards, they also need to strengthen their emotional support skills. Finland, Australia have the relevant legislation protecting carers. In the UK, in 1995, they have a bill on protecting carers. They recognize the status and role of carers. They also said that the needs of carers needed to be considered. In 2002, the US also provides information about carers so that they can provide different training plans. In Japan, there was also a piece of relevant legislation. The legislation helped carers. There are different family-friendly employment practices, FFEPs, to protect the interests, rights, and leave of carers. We can see the carers not only receive fundamental support, but from the legal perspective, the social status of carers is also enhanced. We all will age. The government shoulders some of the responsibilities of caring for the elderly. Carers will also support every single one of us in the future. I so submit. Thank you, President. Professor William Wong. Thank you, President. The policy address in 2024 suggested many reforms in education. They have had regard to the situation in society, for example, building Northern Metropolis University town and the alliance of UAS and science subject. All these are music to our ears. Technological advancements developed by leaps and bounds. We need to continue to seek changes while we invigorate our country through science and education. That's exactly how we can groom talents for the great rejuvenation of our country. Premier Li Qiang said in the work report of the government that we need to implement the strategy of invigorating the country through science and education. We also need to develop technology in our country. Technological education doesn't just concern the education sector. It will also help society to develop. We need to combine all the forces in society in order to achieve this goal. The government should encourage the education sector and the industrial sector to work together so that the education sector will understand the manpower demand in the industrial sector. And at school, students will also be able to join internship schemes so that they will have hands-on experience. That way, they will acquire the necessary skills and expertise. Education nurtures talents. Talents will also provide impetus to INT. Education, technology, talents, they are interlinked. We need an integrated development. In my members' motion last year, I already said that we need to have a steering committee on INT talents. I'm glad to see the policy address this year has adopted my opinion. The government is going to have a committee on education, technology, and talents to promote the integrated development in these areas so that we will groom talents, bring talents together. The setup of this committee directly responds to the spirit of the third plenum of the 20th CPC. That is the integrated reform combining technology and talents. I hope the Chief Secretary for Administration will take into account stakeholders' views in order to revolutionize our education in Hong Kong so that we can groom technology talents and elites. The policy address this year also said that we are going to have a steering committee on digital education. AI is developing very fast. This is worth our support. We need to support the setup of this subcommittee. We need I look forward to the establishment of the Steering Committee on Strategic Development of Digital Education so that we can consolidate the resources and announce the development directions soon. So that AI will be applied to the curricula in primary and secondary schools. We need to introduce technological elements. We also need to let teachers improve the quality of teaching and learning through the use of frontier technology. I so submit, President, I speak in support of the motion. Mr. Yim Kong.
Thank you, Deputy President. On attracting talents, there's much said in the policy address, and there are new initiatives announced too. I'd like to speak on 3 areas. First, pooling talents. I see that the government is improving the Top Talent Pass scheme, and another 13 universities are added to the list. So the government, this is now a government policy to attract talents. But then we need to bring in quality talents based on different disciplines, especially the top-notch talents. So in the Top Talent Pass scheme, the government could perhaps include a list of top-notch disciplines. So for universities with high rankings, they could be included in this list. Now, on the Northern Metropolis University town, aviation, maritime, economics, biotechnology, and so on are going to be should be the subjects to be included in the university's town, and there should be government support in helping local tertiary institutions to work with the mainland institutions to set up research centers in Hong Kong, and then we could build a talent pool. The government should introduce a policy on housing support and support for children of specific top talents. And also for newly arrived talents, if they support the parents in their hometown, there should be tax concessions. Now, many of my views and that of my colleagues have been included. So the residential care scheme is now extended to 9 mainland cities in the GBA. There are more people living in Fujian province now, so I hope the scheme will eventually be extended from Guangdong to Fujian. The government could also seize upon the opportunity of the lower property prices in the mainland. For example, in places such as Huizhou and so on, where property prices have corrected substantially, the government could give more support for the building of residential care homes there. And that's the second point. Third point, there is now long waiting time for public health care services, and also there's need to improve the quality of such services. So the government should ask the hospital authority to set up more outpatient clinics in districts at the district level. And then on the mainland, the medical resources are rich and costs are low, so we could take advantage of that. Apart from the Hong Kong U Shenzhen Hospital, the government could consider setting up maybe 1 or 2 more Hong Kong hospitals operating under the Hong Kong model. And then INT could be used, say, for tele consultation. This will help residents living, working, or retiring in the Greater Bay Area. And also, Hong Kong people may go north for healthcare services because of the lower cost. And then we could lessen the burden on the public healthcare system here. The Director Xia Baolong said recently that he believes the government will have strong determination and the capacity to take forward reforms. So he ask that the different sectors to play their role too, to enhance the competitiveness of Hong Kong, so together we can build a better Hong Kong. So so the central authorities have great trust in Hong Kong and the government and in the public. So as long as we all work together, then we are certainly able to contribute to national revitalization. The policy address responds to the aspirations for reforms and development, so I speak in support of the motion. Mr. Chow Meng Kong, I support the motion of thanks, in particular on education. There's need to stress the various initiatives. Now, on turning Hong Kong into an international education hub, we have various advantages. Well, there's a Thames ranking, and among the top 100 universities in the world, 5 are from Hong Kong. So if we count the mainland as well, there are 7 universities from the mainland and Hong Kong among the top 100 universities. In terms of total number, we exceed that for some advanced economies like South Korea, the UK, and so on. And then recently, Director Xiabolong met with the business sector of Hong Kong. He said that our tertiary institutions have made huge, have achieved much. They are much cherished resources of education. This is an important advantage for Hong Kong. Now, in the policy address, the chief executive mentioned that there's need to build the study in Hong Kong brand. We want to attract students to come to Hong Kong to study. So I'd like to make 3 points here. First, about the study in Hong Kong brand, well, there should be a dedicated department or organization to promote the advantages of the tertiary institution here in Hong Kong. Now, for example, the British Council received about 160 million pounds each year for funding its operations. It's a good percentage of their revenue, so we could follow a similar approach. So we could set up a dedicated international education department. So the department could focus on the promotion and coordination. For example, they can coordinate education expo and also place advertisements to tell good stories of Hong Kong, so more students will come to Hong Kong to study. Last Friday, Director Xiabolong told the business sector that they must love Hong Kong and love the country, and they must tell good stories of Hong Kong overseas. Well, the business sector actually has been working hard to promote Hong Kong as an education hub over the years. I'm grateful for that. Perhaps the various chambers of commerce could also do more, organize more education expos and so on. And so then Hong Kong will become more attractive as an education hub, and actually will help us to draw and retain talents. Now, there's the student hostel pilot scheme. I have said that it's a good scheme, and then many in the sectors also think this is a brilliant idea. So for the pilot scheme, and there are some shortcomings because industrial buildings are not included. Well, some industrial buildings have been converted into hotels before, so how come we can't do the same now? So shall we not consider it again? And then finally, we must address the needs and aspirations of self-financed institutions. Now, there's going to be a law on post-secondary education, that is CAP 320, but then I hope the government will talk to the mainland about mutual recognition of education qualifications. And so we have to relax the requirements on admitting students from the mainland, Taiwan, and Macau. So for self-financed and financed tertiary institutions, they could all work to promote Hong Kong as an international education hub. Thank you. Dr. Tan Yueheng. Thank you. While there are various talent trolling measures in the policy address, I believe they will help to meet the needs of different industries, and we could build a quality talent pool. Now, we must make sure that we have a diversity of talents coming from different places. And then we must review the Hong Kong Talent Office must review these schemes from time to time. Now, we have to be targeted in bringing in talents for industries with strong demands. So there's need to do more studies and do proper planning to make sure that, we could have targeted attraction of talents for certain industries, such as the INT industry. And then secondly, we must in Hong Kong, each year, actually, we do train a large number of talents. There are over 11,000 doctorate students in Hong Kong. So most of them are in science subjects. So these are high-end talents, and they are our human capital for developing INT. And they are the new blood for promoting the development of relevant industries. So now it takes several years to train science talents. So the government should offer full employment support for our locally trained talents, so that we could better make use of talents that we train here. And study in Hong Kong brand. Now building education hub works hand in hand with trawling for talents. So it is important that we develop Hong Kong into an international education hub. There is a keen competition around the world, so we need to maintain the quality of education. At the same time, we need to make sure there is international recognition of local programs. And we must also make sure that our teaching staff and students come from different backgrounds. This is to ensure diversity. So in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, where there are students coming there, so we need to tailor-make programs to cater to their needs. Now, if we have a diversity in our tertiary education and we control for talents, then we'll have enough talents to support our own development. So I speak in support of the motion.
Mr. Benson, look. Deputy President, Mr. President Xi, in his important speech on the 1st of July, said we have to help young people overcome the 4 hurdles. I have taken part in youth work for over 20 years, and after I've joined this council, I've been promoting youth work as well. Earlier, I suggested that there should be a development blueprint for youth development, and during the same year, the government promulgated the first youth development blueprint so that young people could thrive. In the Q&A session, I made my suggestion, and I'm glad that the policy address this year addresses the housing needs for young people. For applicants below the age of 40, they can be given an extra ballot in the secondary white form market. On short-term accommodation on youth hostels, the government is enhancing speed and quantity. Since the current term government took office, there were 80 hostel places, and now there are 3,000. In the first half of 2025, the government is going to roll out a pilot scheme to encourage the market to convert hotels and commercial buildings into student hostels. The BPA and I encourage the government to allow young people to use their MPF savings for down payment. We also encourage the government to promote the positive thinking among young people. For example, we can make use of adventure schemes. This is a great idea. There are similar policies in Singapore. Every year, half of the secondary 3 students have to take part in outdoor adventure schemes. They are going to expand the scheme further. That means a few years later, the entire generation of young people in Singapore will have their mentality strengthened because of these adventure schemes. Overall speaking, I hope the government can help strengthen the thinking and mindset of young people so that we can cultivate their sense of patriotism and that we can help them overcome the 4 major hurdles so that the new generation of young people can love our country, love our home, and be strong so that young people strive and the country prospers. I so submit. Thank you. Mr. Chu Kwok-keng. Thank you, Deputy President. I declare that I am the school principal of a self-financed school. We have to promote positive thinking. I'm glad that there are different policies that promote the students' health and mental health in the policy address. For example, the 3-tier school-based emergency mechanism will be extended. Also, there is the 4 hours mental health charter. Will these policies be successful? It really depends on whether we can change the culture of our schools. We have to be result-oriented so that schools value the importance of positive thinking. We should not have these policies become slogans. We're facing a decline population of school-age children. However, there are no new measures regarding this in the latest policy address. For example, the government is not giving enough support to local kindergartens. Many kindergartens are closing down. This is not a news anymore. People are getting used to this, and this is not a healthy phenomenon. I have to point out that the decline of student population is not the major reason of school closures. It shows that people are losing hope. So we have to confront these problems. The government should allow kindergartens to give full play to their functions. A recent survey shows that the female working population cannot be released because of lack of school-based after-school care services. I hope that there can be simplified procedures for people to apply for child care services. There should be more non-profit making kindergartens for full-time or part-time students so that parents can balance work and family. This will also relieve parents' burden and enhance their sense of well-being. The government has encouraged dependents to be recruited by schools. However, top talents in Hong Kong, they are applying for popular or high-end schools for their children only, and they did not take into consideration whether their children will be used to the school life. There are also immigrants who come to Hong Kong through examinations. I hope the government can recruit more or focus more on local students. There will be the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents, and through this committee we should resolve issues on retaining talents as well as trawling for talents. Hong Kong is one of the rare places in the world with 5 universities included in the top 100 World University chart. The government announced that there will be reserved sites of the size of 46 hectares in Old May to develop the Northern Metropolis University town. There will be cross-disciplinary, cross-sectoral collaboration in the Northern Metropolis University Town project. This is commendable. However, we have to think about what kind of changes it would make to the post-secondary institution sector. For example, the top universities and colleges in Hong Kong, they are subsidized by the government or publicly funded. And this is different from the situation in, for example, South Korea. There aren't enough supports from the government. Therefore, private universities in Hong Kong are lacking the R&D capabilities compared to the top 8 universities in Hong Kong. We have to attract well-renowned universities to establish presence in the northern metropolis. A well-known school tried to come to Hong Kong and establish branded programs and courses. The courses were very expensive, and the government provided campus as well as a 10-year exemption on rent for the school. However, the school only ran for 10 years in Hong Kong, and there were an fiscal deficit for 8 years for the school. And they suffered a loss of over $300 million in total. So we should not only think about the concept without addressing the needs of our education institutions. I hope the government can come up with a comprehensive set of policies as well as a blueprint and make good use of the Northern Metropolis University Town project. Our town May is going to be the site for the third medicine school in Hong Kong. Government officials mentioned that the new medical school have to achieve complementarity advantages with the existing medical schools so that they won't compete for resources together. Over the past few years, we have learned a hard lesson, so we should learn from the previous experience. We should not only focus on the number of institutions in Hong Kong. We have to think about the quality development of these institutions so that it can bring about positive impact for the community. It is only through this that we can create opportunities and build an international hub for high-caliber talents. I so submit. Thank you. Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you, Deputy President. I declare that I'm a registered teacher of a school. I am grateful that the government has come up with this policy address on the theme of reform for enhancing development and building our future together. In this year's policy address, there is mention about building Hong Kong into an international hub for high-caliber talents. We have to make use of talents and technology. We see that the government has a vision on this as well as a long-term plan. The Chief Secretary for Administration is going to chair the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents. There are policies to develop our education sector, tech sector, and to draw for talents. In order to build Hong Kong into an international hub for high-caliber talents and make Hong Kong into an international education hub, we need the support of the central government. However, the SAR government and the community have to work together as well. This current term government, in order to draw for talents, it has been promoting different talent admission schemes. In this year's policy address, there are proposals to build the Study in Hong Kong brand. It shows that the government is trying to, through different policy measures, attract talents to come to Hong Kong. There are currently different talent admission schemes and they've been yielding results. Both incoming talents as well as local parents are concerned about their children's education. Education is the cornerstone for the development of our society. The DAB is concerned about educational issues. There are news about dependence of incoming talents trying to get into schools of Hong Kong. Our party thinks that the government should look at the controversies and make sure that the local educational resources will not be abused by these dependents of incoming talents. The third plenary session mentions that every child should have the opportunity to enjoy quality education. The Education Bureau said that it will ensure every child will be treated fairly and that it will all have the opportunity to receive education. I'm a registered teacher. I'm in this profession. I'm also a counselor for my students. I have been concerned about the mental health problems of students. We have to review our policies, identify, adapt to, and embrace changes to make sure that the resources are being used effectively. I understand the government has put in quite a lot of resources into promoting mental health of our students. It has come up with a stepped model care model for mental health, and that is going to extend and keep reviewing the 3-tier school-based emergency mechanism. The education sector thinks that these policies can really help teachers and students. In the mainland, in terms of use of resources, there are usually a cap. And this is important to make sure that the policies will be effective. In Hong Kong, for resources for students with special educational needs, there is a limit so that many schools cannot get the resources they need to support students with special educational needs. So I think the government should review the 3-tier mechanism. For example, the government should review whether it will remove the cap on the resources given to students. For preschool children, currently there are no resources for preschool institutions to support SEN students. On another note, there is a VTC pilot scheme. However, to make good use of resources and talent, the government should review the existing policies to promote VPET in secondary schools. Currently, there are 10 schools with qualification framework approved programs. So I hope the government can more effectively ensure dual development of VPET as well as a traditional academic curriculum. Education is crucial. In the past, in terms of the planning, the Education Coordination Committee has been playing an important role. Before 2007, recommendation reports were issued covering the design of curriculum, teachers' training, as well as school management and further studies of students. The Education Bureau gave a lot of steer back then, and the recommendation report said that these resolutions were for the problems in Hong Kong. And all these reports resulted in heated discussions and debate. All these were solid foundation for the education sector. In order to identify changes, adapt to, as well as embrace changes, we need to make reforms. In order to cope with the new era, is it a new or high time for us to reactivate the function or role of the Education Coordination Committee? If there is such a committee, it should submit reports to the government regularly. For example, the committee should focus on policies on building Hong Kong into an international hub for high-calibre students and building Hong Kong into an international education hub. It should help promote the long-term development of the education sector so that our educational resources can be used more effectively and reasonably. The chief executive said that we need to build what has to be developed in the education sector. If there are any shortcomings, they must be rectified. If there are bottlenecks or weaknesses or hurdles, they must be overcome. For areas that need or require consolidation, they must be improved. It shows that there is determination of the government. However, we need to be clear of our priorities. I hope this government can work pragmatically to deal with the educational issues in Hong Kong so that we can nurture a new generation that love Hong Kong as well as our country. I so submit. I support the motion. Thank you.
Mr. Dominic Lee. Thank you, Deputy President. Attracting talents is key in maintaining our competitive edge. All over the world, the race for talents has intensified. After the pandemic, different countries are enhancing their efforts to attract talents. Geopolitical tensions added to our difficulty. At present, the labor market is dwindling. Despite the fact that the unemployment rate is on the low side, INT, healthcare, financial sector, there is a manpower crunch across these sectors. According to the CNSD, in 2023, there was only a working population of 3.7 million, down by 100,000 compared with the pre-pandemic figure. We need to maintain our status as an international financial center and international shipping center. We need to have a pool of high-end talents. So the government is committed to attracting mainland and overseas top talents to Hong Kong. However, I'm not sure if the policies could not cater for the demands in the market. So different countries around the world have reservation about coming to Hong Kong. I have an alliance called China Story Alliance, and we organize an event that is a happy hour event inviting 75 professionals. One of them is from Poland. This professional worked on technology, INT. Hong Kong has a good business environment, the professional said, but the living cost is high. Talent attraction measures aren't as ambitious as those in other countries, so the company was decided to be headquartered in Singapore. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There were many examples showing us Hong Kong is lagging behind in attracting talents. Many local enterprises, especially finance, healthcare, technology, they have a shortage of talents. At different levels within a company, there is also a manpower crunch. The Central People's Government attaches a lot of importance to Hong Kong's attraction for talents. In the 2023 conference, President Xi Jinping said that we need to give full play to the principle of one country, two systems, and we also need to facilitate the integration into the GBA in order to attract more talents to come to Hong Kong. The country also staunchly supports Hong Kong's development into 8 centers. We need to enhance our mechanism for attracting talents in order to injecting continuous impetus into the development of Hong Kong. I thank the Chief Executive for rolling out a series of measures in the policy address to enhance our capability in attracting talents. First of all, we will enhance the TTPS, Top Talent Pass Scheme, to expand the list of universities in order to attract more students from eminent university or professionals with international experience to Hong Kong. But the key is whether we can expand the scheme from undergraduates to postgraduates. The government also mentioned professional talents matching platform, which will connect local enterprises to global talents. This will provide more opportunities for enterprises to attract talents. The government also mentioned the setup of an international talent engage, that is to help incoming talent to solve their issues, say education for their children, housing, and so on. The purpose is to enable these talents to settle into Hong Kong faster. Mrs. Regina Ip also said these talents are top talents. When we formulate measures to help them, we aim to create a good environment so that Hong Kong is a more livable city in order to attract them to come to Hong Kong. It is not the case that because you are a top talent, we need to help you like a nanny. That is not the case. We aren't providing any guarantee. I went to some GBA cities. The property costs are low. It's convenient when it comes to the transport network. Should we live there? Well, however, we simply our children's education is key. It is not the case that our job is holding us back from leaving Hong Kong to other GBA cities. Many talents are staying in Hong Kong. They stay in Hong Kong because of the education system in Hong Kong. Well, don't ask me to move to Sha Tin or Fo Tan. My child is studying in Kowloon Tong. That's exactly why I cannot even leave the Kowloon Tong area. We have the Study in Hong Kong brand to attract more overseas students to study in Hong Kong. This is very important. Instead of attracting them when they have joined the workforce, we should attract them to come to Hong Kong while they are still a student. They will find it easier to settle into Hong Kong. When I studied in the US, upon graduation, many students also chose to stay within that area, probably because they have met their partner or their another half. Once again, I need to thank the Chief Executive for the talent attraction measures announced in the policy address. We also have the Hong Kong Talent Engage led by the Chief Secretary for Administration. We have shown global talents. We attach a lot of importance to them. Looking into the future, with the measures being implemented, Hong Kong will enhance our competitive edge when it comes to attracting talents. We can attract more top talents to Hong Kong, and we should also enhance the training of local talents in order to provide more manpower for Hong Kong. With the integrated development of the Northern Metropolis and the GBA, we will definitely become an international hub for high-caliber talents, and we will play a more prominent role in the international arena. Thank you, Deputy President. Dr. Dennis Lam. I have to declare the company I work for involves the research and development of biomedical products. We need to carry out reforms. We need to be innovative. The policy address of 2024 rollout measures, which is in line with the spirit of the third plenum, that is, we need to make reform. We need to make breakthroughs. We need to be in line with the 15th five-year plan of the country. I thank the Chief Executive for taking my views on board in the policy address, including developing Hong Kong into international medical and healthcare innovation hub, building a third medical school, and building other facilities. I will first talk about developing Hong Kong into a health and medical innovation hub and building a third medical school in Hong Kong. The policy address mentions that we need to develop Hong Kong into an international health and medical innovation hub, which is in line with my members' motion to develop Hong Kong into an Asian or even an international health and medical innovation hub. President Xi Jinping mentioned we need to grasp the high-quality development of Hong Kong and to develop new quality productive forces. We do have the conditions to develop medical innovation into a new quality productive force. We have the advantage of connection with the world and the staunch support of the country. We have the role of a superconnector with the world, and we need to consider what the what the country needs. Then we enhance the mechanism by leveraging on our advantage in INT to vigorously develop Hong Kong into an international health and medical innovation hub. The policy address mentioned that there will be a timeline for the setup of the Hong Kong Center for Medical Products Regulation and the timeline of the primary evaluation approach. We are taking forward these projects at full steam, which shows the resolve of the government. This is encouraging. I once asked the Secretary the timeline. At that time, the Secretary mentioned these matters are very serious. According to international experience, it takes at least a decade. This timeline is reasonable. But is it possible to work faster? For example, for rare diseases, drugs approval, the timeline is a little bit different. They have a green channel. There are also policies to expedite their commercialization or their approval. So I hope we can start with rare diseases. And we need to aim at allowing these drugs to be registered in Hong Kong within 5 years. On deepening reform of healthcare system, the wait for surgeries is very long. For example, for anti-West, the wait for cataract surgeries takes as long as 4.6 years. The policy address mentioned increasing the number of cataract surgeries by at least 20%. This will reduce the wait for cataract surgeries, and this is good for the grassroots. For PPP, for cataract surgeries, it's very successful. Clients can pay $8,000 to undergo cataract surgeries, and private doctors cannot receive more than $16,000 to perform a cataract surgery. However, some still cannot afford it. So we will expand the elderly healthcare voucher scheme to cover cataract surgeries or other surgeries that members of the public have a high demand. If possible, we can reduce the wait for surgeries in the public healthcare sector. Well, all members of the public will have to pay for surgeries unless they are the disadvantaged groups. Some people criticize this remark. It is worrying. So whenever people have any sickness, even for ailments, they will consult private doctors. And some even have to sell their properties to take out medical insurance policies just in order to stay alive. Then they will become the poor middle class, so to speak. Then they will wait for elderly public housing. Well, this is definitely misleading. However, some did fall victim to this misleading information. I hope the government will set the record straight. For example, after medical reforms, if there are critical illnesses, say serious heart diseases or cancer, when they undergo surgeries and follow up in public hospitals, will there be significant changes in their price levels? This is close to the heart of the middle class. I thank the Chief Executive for adopting my view, that is to build a third medical school in Hong Kong. In a panel, I asked the Secretary about the timeline of building a third medical school. The reply back then was that we want to build a high-quality medical school, not just an ordinary medical school. With drawn reference from the Prince of Wales hospitals and QMH, it will take 10 years. For the medical school in the Northern Metropolis University town, the site formation works will only be completed in 2026. For this project in Yaotame, indeed, it will take at least a decade before we see any progress. For this long-awaited project, is it possible to expedite the work? Will we make reference to the medical school in Tsinghua University? They first set up a fundamental medical school. That is because it takes 2 to 3 years before students move on to the clinical stage. Then they will prepare a temporary teaching hospital. For Hong Kong Youth, we have Queen Mary Hospital, and for CUHK, we have Prince of Wales Hospitals in NT East. We will consider using Queen Elizabeth Hospitals as the teaching hospital for a third medical school. This can be a stopgap measure. Queen Mary Hospital is a large-scale hospital, so we can help with the setup of a third medical school, and this will be a piece of good news to residents in Kowloon. This policy address develops the economy in Hong Kong. President Xi Jinping mentioned we are in a critical stage of making breakthroughs. There are more opportunities than challenges. With the staunch support of the Central People's Government, with the strong leadership of the Chief Executive, I believe we can definitely make Hong Kong even more prosperous in the future. I support the motion of thanks.
Mr. Kingsley Wong, thank you. The third plenary session supports Hong Kong's development into an international high-caliber talent hub. Now, the policy address also proposes measures to draw and retain talents. The government has taken up the suggestion of the labour sector to reform the employees retraining board to provide a wider range of training programs to the workforce as a whole that will help to train talents that meet our development needs. So we support it. Now, we need to bring we need talents for different industries, and we must also encourage upward mobility. So whether we bring in talents or if we bring in talents, we must always first give priority to local workers. There must be stringent criteria to prevent any abuse of any talent admission schemes. Otherwise, we're just bringing in cheap labor. So we must first improve the wages and working conditions of enterprises, so we could to first address the labor shortage by local supply. Now, for the young people aged between 15 and 20 something, the labor participation rate is low compared to other Singapore. Now, there is the re-employment allowance pilot scheme. Originally, there are places for 6,000, but there's overwhelming response, and over 20,000 people took part in the scheme, so the scheme is very successful. It shows that for the middle-aged and higher age groups, there is much potential in terms of productivity. So the government, therefore, needs to give various support, such as childcare support, and the government must also address the inconsistencies between welfare benefit scheme and the government's employment policy. Now, President Xi Jinping wrote an article to say that the government needs to do more to protect the interest of the workforce. The legitimate interests of the workforce must be protected. Now, there are three major issues here. First, working poverty, long working hours, unpaid overtime work, and occupational safety. Now, 630,000 people earn less than $55 an hour. Now, the statutory minimum wage mechanism is reformed. There will be a better review, and there will be any review. But still, the formula is too harsh. So we can't really let workers to share in the fruit of our prosperity. So we need to revise the statutory minimum wage so people can live with dignity. Our workforce. 18% of people overwork, and we have one of the longest working hours. And then the people don't make enough just with their basic. Cannot earn enough to meet their needs with basic pay, so they have to work overtime. So many work more than 12 hours. And then workers often work overtime without compensation, and then their legitimate interests are undermined. So the government should take the lead for 5-day week. There should be better overtime arrangement. And if rest hours spent working, then there must be compensation too. And we need to revert the long working hour culture too. Over 5 days, there have been 3 fatal construction site accidents. Last year, the government amended the legislation to raise the penalty, but still we are seeing accidents. Now, there is the smart site safety system. The government's promoting that, so the government needs to step up patrolling of construction site. And then there could be recording systems, drones, and other ways to collect evidence on construction sites that will serve a stronger deterrent effect. And there should be a fund on fatalities and injuries sustained at work. So there's no need to prove who's responsible for the accident, and there's no need to prove that all channels for compensation have been exhausted. Instead, this fund will provide immediate cash relief to the families of those of the victims. Thank you. Mr. Portier. Deputy President. The SL government has actually achieved much in the past 2 years with its various measures. I'm sure the public can all see that. For example, the rationalization of the free road harbor crossings. We have seen smoother traffic flow. I benefit from that too. And on recovery of public housing units, to combat abuse in public housing tenancy. Some 15,000 public housing units were recovered in the enhanced scheme. So that's to protect our cherished resources. So many commend this effort as well. On tourism, well, with there's a Macy saga, and we couldn't bring Taylor Swift here, but finally we are going to bring Coldplay here. So still, there may be some failed attempts, but then it's fine. And the tourism sector, when I was the representative, with traffic, there were various issues, but now it seems that things have improved. And then for the Hong Kong Wine and Dine Expo, and I went there. It was really was well staged. So we have to recognize the achievements of the current government. It has actually done much. Now, since we went through the 2019 turbulence, we had to first achieve stability before we can move on to develop our economy. Now, there are opinions that for this policy address, there is less rhetoric and more substance. And some say that politics give way to economy. That is, we no longer focus on politics and instead we focus on the economy. Well, that's a move in the right direction. But it seems that external environments are becoming worse. Now we have seen the U.S. presidential election result, so we could expect more suppression. And in fact, this you can tell from the stock market, it's gone below 20,000 points, and there will probably be depreciation of the renminbi. It's probably inevitable. So many are worried because there are many people going north to spend, and so people are concerned about the retail sectors and the catering sectors. They will probably suffer more. So we need to help different sectors to cope with adversities better. There is a host of reform measures proposed in the policy address. So there's enough foresight, but is it also taking care of other aspects? Do we need to make micro adjustments so we could benefit the people more? Well, I would like to share a number of observations. First of all, well, there are many new initiatives involving substantial public resources. And it seems the policy address doesn't say too much on savings. Now, Mr. Michael Tang quoted the former President Clinton: "Is the economy stupid?" So I think that's what it's all about now. We have a huge fiscal deficit, so we need to review government spending to see if there is anything we can do about it. Now, the president-elect, Donald Trump, well, you may not agree with many of his policies or even him as a person, but I agree with to one thing he did. He's now appointed Elon Musk, a business genius or tech genius, to head a department to cut costs. So shall we also have a Musk committee in Hong Kong so that we could cut costs for the government? I think we could consider that. In 2016, an office was set up that is the efficiency or cost control office, and then in 2019 the office was upgraded. For works projects worth $1,200 billion, $190 billion were saved from various cost control measures. And then we have an efficiency office. It operates the 1823 hotline. So when there's no clear delineation of responsibilities among departments, this hotline will help to boost efficiency. But it seems that there's still plenty of room for improvement. These two offices probably are not so known to the public. And it seems that we do not have a dedicated office on making savings for the government. This is an important subject, actually. Now, Mr. Anthony Leung was bold. He froze civil service pay, and then in another year, he cut civil service pay by 3%. And some 5,300 civil servants opted for early retirement. Now, I'm not saying that we should ill-treat civil servants, but perhaps now we could see what we can do to make savings. It seems that in the policy address this year, there's not much mention of that. Now, we're setting up various committees. We are formulating new directions of development, but then it seems that we're not doing too much about making savings. Now, the U.S. Is concerned about this too. Of course, we're not saying we should follow the U.S., but I think in any economy, when they see any problems, making savings is something important. So I'd like to raise this point.
Since 2000, I've been objecting to the MPF scheme. I've been calling for the government to better manage people's MPF. I see that there have been more views recently, and we've got more members asking the government to give more flexibility to the MPF scheme. I hope that there can be more flexibility. I hope the government can study how we can make our MPF funds more flexible, allowing more people to make good use of the MPF funds. People do not necessarily make profits through the MPF scheme. Many people have to pay rent, especially the middle class. They want to make use of their MPF savings for down payment for their first home. I hope the government can explore the feasibility of further relaxing the MPF scheme. I've forgotten one point. On increasing revenue and cutting back a cost, in year 2024 to 25, we are going to cut back on cost by 1%. On issues faced by the middle class, well, a lot of members are concerned about the grassroots, about their financial positions, their housing needs, and so on. Not enough people are paying attention to the middle class, however. I noticed that there have been many negative equity cases. The number has reached 47,000. And this is a red alert for us, and this has broken the record of that over the past 20 years. I hope there can be tax deduction to help shoulder the healthcare expenditure of people. Can you allow patients who got the diagnosis from the public hospitals and allow them to get treatment services in the private sector through tax deductions? The second point I want to talk about is about the allowances for parents who live with their children. Their children should be able to get allowance. I want to make good use of my last minute and talk about the talent admission schemes. I understand that we need more talents in Hong Kong. I understand that the incoming talents need different types of support. For example, students, they need support. However, we should not spend too many of our resources on the incoming talents. This might be unfair for the locals. There are people who come to Hong Kong and submit forged credentials. We should not allow the unemployment rate to go up by importing all these talents to Hong Kong. Hong Kong continues to be a success because of various reasons. Our success hinges on our values, our laws, our language, and our global perspectives and our ways of resolving disputes. People in Hong Kong are very smart. We have to be flexible. On one hand, we have to integrate ourselves into the country's development. On the other hand, we should not lose our own characteristics. Thank you. Mr. Ambrose Lam, Deputy President, I speak in support of Dr. Starry Lee's motion. I also recognize the performance of the government as a member of this council. In order to pursue happiness of our people, I have to discharge my duties according to the basic law. Members have to monitor the work of the government. I think members have to listen to views of our people as well as our sectors. And then we, according to our own judgments, decide whether we have to reflect these comments to the government. We are not just here to reflect our own personal views. Also, this council is not a court. We should not be hostile against each other. There should be healthy interaction between the legislature and the executive. Thank you. Any other members who wish to speak? If not, I will call upon the public officers to speak. Secretary for Labour and Welfare.
建關愛共融嘅社會，喺人才方面呢，政府會優化機制，呢個包括咗呢高才通會擴容，新增咗13所頂尖嘅大學，同埋高收入人才嘅首個簽證期呢。
Now, the top talent scheme, you know, the validity of visit period will be extended to 3 years, and there will be other various measures. And then we will have also other schemes, for example, for non-professional, bachelor technical professionals, we will bring them in, and then the Hong Kong Talent Exchange will continue to provide one-stop support to incoming talents. The government will also step up support for workers. We're going to reform the employees retraining scheme to promote continuing education for all and improve our productivity and competitiveness. And then next year, on the 1st of May, we will implement the abolition of IPF offsetting arrangement. We will also implement annual review of statutory minimum wage, and we will proceed with legislative amendment on the requirement of continuous contract under the Employment Ordinance. We will continue with the Re-employment Allowance Pilot Scheme, and then for the Greater Bay Youth Employment Scheme, we will increase the maximum amount of subsidies and explore the provision of two-rate arrangements. The Chinese name of the Youth Employment and Training Program will be refined. The upper age limit will be relaxed. On occupational safety and health, the Labour Department has launched a series of measures, including raising the penalties under the occupational safety and health legislation, amending codes of practice and guidelines, and promoting the adoption of the smart site safety system, that's 4S, in construction sites. Helping the poor, the old, and the vulnerable is important in building a caring society and maintaining harmony and stability. The government will expand the Strive and Rise program to recruit 4,000 trainings and enhance training for mentors, encourage young youth leaders of the Alumni Club to organize activities. We also expand the pilot program on community living room. 3 more living rooms will be set up to serve 1,300 households and about 200 attendances. The after-school care service scheme will be enhanced to expand the coverage to cover another 50 from 50 primary schools to 110 primary schools, and they will subsidize elderly persons receiving CSSA to reside in RCHEs in the Guangdong province. There will be a 3-year pilot program, and each person will receive a monthly subsidy of $5,000. There are 1,000 places. On carers, we will provide various services. We'll expand the district services community care teams pilot scheme. We will explore the setting of an interdisciplinary and inter-organization database to cover carers, and there will be tools to detect high-risk cases for early intervention and support. On supporting the elderly, the number of participating in the residential care services scheme in Guangdong has gone up to 11. There's a number of RCHEs in the scheme, and then we'll provide an additional 1,000 residential care service voucher scheme for the elderly participating in the scheme. And there will be 14 integrated community rehabilitation centers for persons with disabilities. And on supporting children, we will set up an additional standalone childcare center. We will also increase the number of places under the Neighborhood Support Childcare Project. We expect 25,000 children to benefit from the project. Next, in January 2026, the mandatory reporting of child abuse ordinance will commence. We are working full speed to make all the preparations, such as providing training and compiling the guide, increasing the number of emergency placement places, and so on. We will also, the SWD will set up community parents and children centers to promote parent-child interactions through a play-based approach, and also to provide referral services. The SL government will make concrete effort in the areas of manpower, labor and welfare to improve people's livelihood in pursuit of happiness. Thank you.
非常感謝各位議員就住
Secretary for Health. President, I'm grateful for members' views for the medical and healthcare initiatives in the policy address. I'm glad that members recognize the direction of our Bureau in deepening the reform of the healthcare system and building an international health and medical innovation hub. We are determined to reform the functions and division of work among the Hospital Authority, the Department of Health, and the Primary Healthcare Commission to maintain our system's high quality and high efficiency. We will continue to advance primary healthcare development. We will continue to develop the district health centers and position hospital authorities, general outpatient clinics as primary healthcare service providers for the underprivileged. We will expand the chronic disease co-care pilot scheme to cover blood lipid tests to help check for high blood pressure, high blood glucose, and high blood lipids. Concerning prevalent cancers, we will include breast cancer, lung cancer, and liver cancer as we formulate risk-based screening programs for people. We will revamp the family planning service provided by the maternal and child health centers to promote healthy fertility, strengthen the whole school health program to enhance student health, provide preventive dental services for preschool children, and launch dental support schemes for adolescents and the underprivileged. We'll also continue to take forward our work on tobacco control. On liquor tax, we are only reducing the tax for high-end liquors. This is an economic policy. The government has taken into account various factors before coming up with such a decision. We have taken into account public health as we wrote out this policy. This is only one policy wrote out by the government. We will adopt a balanced approach. People's health and economic policies are not mutually exclusive. With economic growth, we won't necessarily compromise people's health. In the long run, we will achieve both. We will reform the public healthcare services. We will examine the structure and levels of the fees and charges. We're only going to conduct reviews. There are no concrete proposals yet. However, I can assure you that our healthcare system is going to be the safety net for our people. Without concrete proposals yet, there have been some misunderstandings in the community. I'm glad that Dr. Lam Shun-Chu said that there were some misconceptions. He spent only He spent 1 minute on the misconceptions and only 5 seconds saying that he did not agree to all these views. So I hope the media won't repeat those misconceptions. We have to bear in mind that Dr. Dennis Lam said he did not agree to these views. I believe that before we roll out any concrete proposals, there will be consultation. We will optimize and expedite the procurement of drugs and medical devices. We'll finalize the second hospital development plan and will set up the first stroke center and the second chest pain center. We'll also increase the service capacity for cataract surgeries by at least 20%. We will explore the feasibility of devising service quality and efficiency standards for public and private healthcare sectors. We'll explore legislating for private healthcare price transparency. We'll also amend the legislation to require healthcare providers to deposit prescribed essential health data in the personal e-health accounts of members of the public. We will introduce a bill into the Legislative Council next year to admit non-locally trained supplementary medical professionals. We support the development of a third medical school. We will set aside sites in Ao Tam Mei at the northern metropolis for the campus of the new medical school and a new integrated medical teaching and research hospital. We will expand the integrated Chinese Western medicine services to cover more programs. We'll also work with the Chinese Medicine Testing Institute. We will formulate a multidisciplinary stepped care model for mental health. On another note, since November 1st, we've extended the 1+ mechanism to all new drugs. In the first quarter of next year, we'll provide consultation services for companies engaged in the research and development of drugs to help them better understand the mechanism. We'll take forward the legislative exercise for the statutory regulation of medical devices. We will enhance clinical trial capability of Hong Kong and facilitate the translation of innovative medical research results into clinical applications. We'll set up a real-world study and application center and attract global top-notch enterprises and research organizations to establish presence in Hong Kong. We will enhance medical collaboration in the GBA. We'll extend the elderly healthcare voucher GBA pilot scheme to cover all 9 GBA cities. We'll expand the sharing of cross-boundary medical records and will explore enabling cross-boundary use of data, samples, drugs, and medical devices. Finally, I thank members again for their valuable views and support for the work of this Bureau. Will enhance our healthcare system, improve its quality and efficiency, and be the pioneer of the GBA as we take forward the healthcare reform. I so submit. I urge members to support the motion. Thank you.
Secretary for Education. Thank you, President. I'm grateful to members for putting forward their precious views on measures related to education in the 2024 policy address. Under the principle of one country, two system, we have our own advantages. In line with the development of the country, we need to develop Hong Kong into an international hub for high-caliber talents. In order to promote the high-quality development of the economy, we need to make contributions to the country to build ourselves into a leading country of education, so that we will set up the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents. At the same time, the Education Bureau will also create a brand of study in Hong Kong to attract high-quality students to come to Hong Kong. We will also strive to organize more international education conferences and exhibitions to Hong Kong to bring in global leaders as well as representatives in higher education. This will highlight our status as an international hub for post-secondary education. And we will also support the provision of more supply on a self-financing and privately funded basis, including converting hotels or commercial buildings into student hostels. We will launch a pilot scheme in the first half of 2025 together with the Development Bureau. We will set aside at least 80 hectares of land to encourage local post-secondary institutions to work with their overseas counterparts to introduce more branded programs, research, collaboration, and exchange projects. We expect to publish the Northern Metropolis University Town Development Conceptual Framework in the first half of 2026. We will also launch the Hong Kong Future Talent Scholarship Scheme for advanced studies to nurture local high-caliber talents. Meanwhile, we will step up publicity about the Belt and Road Scholarship to attract outstanding students to come to Hong Kong. and develop Hong Kong into a hub of talents. On promoting university research work, we'll launch a new round of the Research Matching Grant Scheme, which will provide post-secondary institutions with a matching grant of $1.5 billion during a 4-year period to support institutions in expanding their research funding sources. The government will introduce the bill on the Post-Secondary College Ordinance CAP 320 within 2025. The purpose is to enhance the monitoring and quality assurance mechanism of self-financing institutions to support them in improving their quality and capacity. Some members suggested enhancing the status and appeal of VPAT. We very much agree with this point. The government actively promotes pathway parallel to conventional academic education. We will continue to adopt the strategy of fostering industry-institution collaboration and diversified development in strengthening and enhancing the VPAT articulation pathway. The government has allocated $100 million to set up a startup fund for the setup of an alliance of UAS. The government will also support the VTC in developing and enhancing its campuses and VPAT facilities, including building a campus for the newly set up Hong Kong Institute of Information Technology and developing the Lift and Escalator Technology Center. We will promote STEAM education, including the setup of a steering committee on strategic development of digital education, renewing the junior secondary science curriculum, launching a pilot scheme to provide participating publicly funded secondary schools with a subsidy of $100,000 to promote AI-assisted teaching in junior secondary science. We will also host an international summit on the use of AI in the learning and teaching of languages and other subjects to promote the exchange and collaboration among INT organizations and post-secondary institutions, provide teachers with professional training, and strengthen on-site support services for IT in education. We must ensure that our students are biliterate and trilingual in order to cement our advantages in our highly international and diversified education. We have reserved about $200 million from the Language Fund for dispersing a one-off grant to each publicly funded primary and secondary school to enhance students' English language learning. Meanwhile, the EDB will also implement a pilot scheme in the 2024-25 school years to encourage schools to apply for additional resources to provide opportunities for junior secondary students to learn other languages and enrich their learning experiences. With the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong, we should focus our education on nurturing a future generation that loves our country and the city. The Education Bureau has all along supported schools in adopting various approaches, that is, organic integration, natural connection, diversified strategies, mutual coordination, and learning within and beyond the classroom. Whole school participation in order to strengthen students' sense of national identity and national pride in cultivating affection for our country. We will also provide quality training for teachers to Chinese history teachers, strengthen national geography education, incorporate more red resource destination and related learning elements into exchange and study tours in the mainland. We will also continue to promote love for our country, love our home, treasure our country, to encourage cross-school and multidisciplinary collaboration to cultivate students' affection for our home and country. The Education Bureau strives to encourage students to support students' mental health on various fronts, stepping up cross-school and multidisciplinary collaboration to strengthen the promotion of students' mental health at schools. We vigorously promote the 4 R's mental health charter and have launched a mental health literacy resource kit for upper primary and junior secondary levels. At the same time, we strengthen teachers' ability to identify and support students with mental health needs. The government will enhance and extend the 3-tier school-based emergency mechanisms to end December 2025, strengthening the collaboration among the school's multidisciplinary team off-campus supporting network and medical services for early identification and support of students with high risks. The key to quality education is teachers. The policy address proposes to allocate $2 billion to set up the Teacher Professional Development Fund to support the long-term development of teachers, to continuously enhance and launch teacher training and exchange programs. Cultivating values and nurturing people is a core mission of education. We will work hard to implement the policies mentioned in the 2024 policy address, driving the high-quality development of education in Hong Kong. I urge members to support the motion moved by Ms. Starry LEE. Thank you.
Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs. I'm grateful to members for their views. I will speak on key policies and work of the Home and Youth Affairs Bureau, HYAB. The government is fully committed to youth development. Since the publication of the Youth Development Blueprint at the end of 2022, HYAB and other bureaus have kept the focus on the promotion of youth development and launched various new initiatives. We spend no effort in training young people to become the vital new blood in the building of our country and Hong Kong. A number of new initiatives related to youth were announced in the 2024 policy address. It is a clear demonstration of the government's determination to promote youth work on a long-term and sustainable basis. HYB plans to organize a second Youth Development Summit in the second half of 2025. We'll expand the scale of the event to turn it into a large-scale youth event which fosters exchanges and cooperation among young people of different regions and which promotes local youth development. HYB will continue to develop the Youth Link. We will organize a series of youth development activities for its members. The aim is to engage a group of young people who are energetic, diversified, competitive, and dedicated to community building. HYB will set up a physical platform of the Youth Link in Nam Chung District Community Center and Tung Chau Street Temporary Market. There will be multifunction. The objective is to provide a gathering place for ongoing interaction with Youth Link members and establish a place for implementing the blueprint measures. Provide young people with more space and a wider network. HYB will convert the Kai-Tak Community Isolation Facility into youth development facilities, which will include the youth post hostel and spaces for cultural and art exchanges for young people, for facilitating two-way exchanges among local young people and those from the mainland and overseas. We aim to conduct the open tender at the end of this year and to commission the facility progressively within next year. Apart from, we will also roll out the Good Stories of Hong Kong Youth program by reserving part of the Youth Square for setting up a video studio for young people to produce video clippings. The training will be provided. We also take forward to various youth exchange and internship programs to provide young people with diversified exchange and internship opportunities. We have launched the pilot scheme on subsidized grassroots youth for participating in exchange activities outside of Hong Kong. Now, we also attach great importance to the healthy development of families and the promotion of women's development in Hong Kong. We have introduced various new measures. We have set up the Women's Affairs team and the post of Commissioner for Women Affairs. We organized the first Family and Women Development Summit. We launched a one-stop family and women information portal and introduced a maintenance mediation pilot scheme. We've also launched a new 5-year funding scheme on the promotion of family education. Now we also have the She Inspires program to provide training. This is a pilot scheme for 2 years. And then we will work with the Family Council to host the Hong Kong Excellent Family Awards to promote good family values to the general public and enhance family building, family education, and family values. We are committed to building a caring and inclusive society and we provide suitable services to and support to ethnic minorities, EMs. We are going to add 2 more support service centers for EMs. And then we are going to set up an EM care team in each of the support service center to serve new arrivals and young people. We will also organize activities to promote communication and exchanges between EMs and the local community. To further strengthen EM work, the Chief Executive announced in the policy address this year that in addition to the chair, we will engage another SSC to provide interpretation and translation service to reduce the inconvenience faced by EM due to the language barrier. The service will start in 2025. Care teams are the government's key service teams under the improved district governance structure. All the caring teams in the 18 districts were launched in the third quarter of 2023. They have won much acclaim for their work. Then it's announced in the policy address that we regularize the care team setup and funding will be increased by 50%. The government will launch the Care Team Outstanding Service Award Scheme to recognize outstanding teams members, volunteers, and partner organizations to promote the caring spirit. The awards will be presented by the Chief Secretary for Administration. Many members mentioned the scope of work of the care team. We agree that we set up a care team initially to provide services at the district level and also to organize activities that if necessary they can mobilize district resources to support residents in need. Care teams cannot replace the services provided by professional departments. I thank members for their views. I hope members will support the motion. Thank you.
Secretary for Environment and Ecology, President, members. I thank members for their views on the policy address. I will speak on green and low carbon transformation first. The government seeks to achieve carbon neutrality by 2035, and then we seek to halve the carbon emission. In 2014, we reached the peak, and in 2030, the carbon emission was 4.4 tons compared to 2014, the level dropped by 30%. We will make use of landfill sites as well as short-term tenancies. We'll also make use of Green Tech Fund as well as other funds to help implement green tech projects in Hong Kong. For example, we have assisted 2 local green tech companies to set up production lines to upcycle local waste materials to produce high-value core materials for electricity-free cooling products. We will enhance the short-term tenancy measure to help enterprises upgrade and transform themselves. We'll continue to attract and facilitate companies to develop green tech projects in Hong Kong. For example, developing hydrogen production facilities that use solar energy. We seek to help Hong Kong develop into a demonstration base for green technologies and help export our country's green tech and products. We will also inject $100 million for a new round of partnership program to support the green transformation of Hong Kong-owned factories. In June this year, we promulgated the strategy of hydrogen development in Hong Kong. We expect that next year we will introduce an amendment bill to the Legislative Council to regulate the use of hydrogen energy as a fuel. And by 2027, we will prepare a standardized certification model for green hydrogen applicable to Hong Kong. On another note, the EEB as well as the Transport and Logistics Bureau will promulgate the action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering within this month. We're also going to explore the use of different types of fuel. Our target is to meet the qualifying conditions for ship-to-ship liquefied natural gas bunkering in Hong Kong this year. On green transformation, we have reserved about $750 million under the new Energy Transport Fund to subsidize the taxi trade and franchised bus operators in procuring EVs, as well as the trial of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. The government will release a citywide green transformation roadmap for public buses and taxis. We'll also expand the network of charging facilities. By mid-2027, the number of public and private parking spaces with charging infrastructure in Hong Kong will be increased to 200,000. A $300 million new scheme will also be launched to subsidize the installation of 3,000 fast chargers. On waste reduction and recycling, we will speed up the expansion of community recycling networks. We will enhance the Green at Communities recycling facilities and review the tender arrangements and requirements for such facilities. We will continue to promote food waste recycling. In all public housing estates and large private housing estates, there will be food waste collection facilities. We will continue to step up education and publicity to encourage more residents to develop the habit of reducing and recycling waste. In 2025, we will introduce an amendment bill into this council. We are coming up with a legal framework for producer responsibility schemes applicable to different products. Also, the first waste-to-energy facility, IPARC 1, will commence operation next year. And the second facility, IPARK 2, will see its tendering exercise. In the meantime, we will continue to enhance the operation of the existing landfills. Separately, this year we have designated the Robin Nest Country Park as well as the North Lantau Country Parks as the official country parks in Hong Kong. The Long Valley Nature Park was also opened this month. These country parks allow the public to take part in nature conservation. Under the Northern Metropolis project, we are carrying out the strategic feasibility study on the development of wetland conservation park system. The findings were released earlier this year. We are working to establish the Sampo Shu Wetland Conservation Park in the Northern Metropolis. We target to commence the construction in year 2026, and we aim to complete the works in 2031. We are seeking to introduce different types of facilities in the local country parks. We want to promote ecotourism and integration of urban area and villages. We are rolling out island hopping itineraries. In 2023, we published the blueprint for the sustainable development of agriculture and fisheries together with the industries. There will be 2 types of deep sea cages that will be up for rent by the sector. We will, through public-private partnership model, continue to develop the agri-park. We will, in government premises, set up hydroponic farms, and we will set aside sites for the sectors to build the first multi-story, modernized and environmentally friendly livestock farm. We will also hold different activities to promote leisure farming. President, let us work together to build a beautiful Hong Kong and achieve the city's as well as the country's carbon neutrality targets. I so submit. Thank you.
Chief Secretary for Administration. President, I'm grateful to all members for putting forward their valuable views in various sections of the debate over these 3 days. I now make a consolidated response on behalf of the government. Hong Kong needs to maintain its international competitive edge. We need to build Hong Kong into an international hub for high-caliber talents. The Committee on Education, Technology and Talents, which is chaired by me, will fully implement the spirit of the 3rd plenum of the 20th CPC Central Committee from a top level to coordinate and drive the integrated development of education, technology and talents, laying a solid manpower foundation for our development of 8 centers. Measures for attracting talents are very notable. So far, we have received 400,000 applications. We have received 250,000 applications. About 166,000 talents have arrived in Hong Kong with their family members. We are reforming various aspects of the talent admission regime, including extending the validity period of the first visa of high-income talents under the Top Talent Pass scheme to 3 years. We will enhance collaboration and exchange with their counterparts around the world and promote the Study in Hong Kong brand on a global scale. In addition, the government has set aside at least 80 hectares of land for the Northern Metropolis University Town, and we plan to publish the Northern Metropolis University Town Development Conceptual Framework in the first half of 2026. To develop Hong Kong into an international health and medical innovation hub, from the 1st of November, we already extended the 1+ mechanism to all new drugs, facilitating good drugs for use in Hong Kong. The government supports local universities in building a 3rd medical school, and we will also step up efforts to admit non-locally trained doctors and allied healthcare professionals to ease their manpower shortage in Hong Kong. To solve housing problems, the Chief Executive announced in this policy address that we would implement and build basic housing units at full steam. We will roll out a series of measures to help young people to buy SSF. In the meantime, we will also tighten well-off tenants' policies and increase the ratio of green farms in respect of home ownership scheme flats to make better use of the public housing resources. We have already enhanced the Strive and Rise program. There will be over 10,000 mentees benefiting from the program. And we will also increase the number of community living rooms, bringing the total number to 7. And there will be over 110 primary schools benefiting from the school-based after-school care service schemes. We will launch a pilot scheme to subsidize elderly CSSA recipients to reside in residential care homes in Guangdong. We will also enhance residential care services scheme in Guangdong, and we will extend district services and community care team pilot scheme on supporting elderly and carers to the whole of Hong Kong. In terms of district governance, we will regularize the funding for care teams, and we will also launch an award scheme. The government is committed to taking forward its youth work. We will create the youth post-hostel and spaces for cultural, arts, and sports exchanges among the youth, launching a new round of the funding scheme for youth life planning activities and making good use of the mobile app Hong Kong Youth Plus, as well as other online media platforms to bring young people together. On promoting green and low-carbon lifestyle, the Environment and Ecology Bureau will continue to introduce mainland and international technologies for the protection and development of the ecological environment, such as solar to hydrogen technology, in order to develop Hong Kong into a green technology demonstration base. President, this policy address is a collective effort between the government and the community. The Chief Executive and the administration held over 40 consultation sessions during 3 months of preparation. We listened to various sectors and the public. We went to the community. Legislators' views have also been adopted. We want all policy measures to benefit Hong Kong and the people of Hong Kong, so that our road to reform will be smooth and sustainable. Once again, I am grateful to members for putting forward their views and constructive suggestions on different policy areas in the past 3 days. The government will definitely actively consider them and follow up on them. I urge members to support the policy address. I so submit. Thank you, President.
The debate sessions on the 2024 policy address end. Ms. Starry LEE, you still have 4 minutes, 33 seconds to reply, then the debate will come to a close. Dr. Starry LEE. President, a total of 88 members spoke in the motion debate on the policy address. The total speaking time was 17 hours 30 minutes. I thank members for their active participation in the debate and insightful and constructive proposals on various policy areas. The resolution of the third plenary session of the 20th CCC Central Committee sets the direction for our future development. Under the theme of reform for enhancing development and building our future together, the policy address puts forward specific initiatives to consolidate and enhance our position as an international financial, shipping and trading center, develop Hong Kong into an international hub for high-caliber talents, and actively integrate into the development of our country in the Greater Bay Area. In taking forward the Chinese modernization process, these measures will help Hong Kong to leverage the advantages of one country, two systems for better integration into the overall national development and the new round of reform and opening up. During the consultation of the policy address, the Chief Executive exchanged views with members on various platforms. A good number of initiatives put forward in the policy address have incorporated the views and suggestions of members. I hope that the Chief Executive, Secretaries of departments and Directors of Bureau, as well as relevant officials, will continue to listen carefully to members' views and suggestions when implementing the various policy initiatives. This will make sure that the policies are in line with public views, and reforms in different areas will be carried out proactively and steadily. Ultimately, the public will have a stronger sense of happiness and gain. Now, the Director, Bao has said that we must work together to better promote the development of the country and Hong Kong, so we could then seize upon the opportunities to prevent it and ride on the trend of reform to start a new chapter of development. Thank you. I now put the question to you that Dr. Starry LEE's motion be passed. Will those in favour please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. Of the two groups of members present, I declare the motion passed. I now adjourn the Council until 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 20th of November, 2024.